What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to talk about the overall market and some very important levels to be watching for. I want to talk about the economic calendar, what's going on with all these different charts. But before I begin to all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you put in $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And if you put in $25,000 into the account, you're guaranteed 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. This offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about what's going on with the markets thus far. NIO was down 1.65% for the day on Friday, but we're forming a doji on the daily time frame, which could be signaling some kind of reversal for the week. We could even see a pop tomorrow because earnings is coming out very soon. We have earnings on Tuesday before market open. And we will see if this is going to be a make or break for NIO. Is NIO about to just tank and lose $7? That's our very, very critical support. If we end up losing that, we're going to be sinking down towards the 6.5 area most likely. It's going to depend on earnings, or is earnings going to help NIO bounce very, very nicely and make a big move to the upside? On the 4-hour time frame, you can see that NIO has a very nice bullish divergence developing. So this looks like it might try to bounce, but just to be safe, we'll see what happens after earnings. But one thing that's worth noting is that historically, okay, if we go back on the weekly time frame on NIO, and we go back on the charts, this thing has a tendency of bouncing off that $7 area. Let me just go back to like right here. You could see right here we were at the 7.2 area. NIO bounced. Right here we hit $7. We bounced. And right here we're hitting $7 again. Although we're looking weak, we'll see if this thing could bounce or not. So we'll be watching this very, very carefully. Now, on top of this, with the doji forming, we're going to be watching to see how the overall market performs as we have more data coming out. For tomorrow, as a reminder, we have just factory data and the bill auctions coming out at 11:30. So the only thing coming out for tomorrow will be the bill auctions. Then we have like jolts coming out for Tuesday and more services data. But don't forget, the most important thing for Monday will just be the bill auctions. Nothing too crazy is coming out. We'll see how this affects the markets, if that causes downside or not. And until then, I just want to note that the market is still holding up decently. NIO has announced their sales are up 33.1%, which is not bad. That's once again, I believe, year over year. And then if you look at just for November relative to the previous month, their sales are up about 12.6%. So not bad for NIO. Their numbers have been decent. You can see a screenshot of their deliveries. And they did relatively well. But what's going to matter more now, and this is what investors want to see, is they want to see NIO continue to outperform, absolutely crush it relative to before. And they simultaneously want to see NIO give us more information about their margins, give us more information about pieces of information about their operating costs, their expenditures, and their plans for expansions, and then guidance for deliveries and things like that for earnings. So it looks like even though I was hoping that deliveries would help make a nice move on NIO still dropped after deliveries came out. I was going to be more impactful from this point is going to be once again earnings on Tuesday before the market opens for here in the USA, at least for our time. Now, when it comes to NIO's Twitter page, they tweeted this. We have some new updates coming out when it comes to infrastructure developments. We have about 142 NIO houses, 320 NIO spaces, and many, many other power swaps that have been built, which is good news for them. They're continuing to grow. I know that they're at a very low share price right now, but I still see potential in this company, and I think that they need to just give us more information involving earnings and such. I'm going to be very patient with them, but I'm not necessarily losing faith and losing hope. For now, I'll be waiting to see what happens with their numbers. I'm very optimistic looking at their new products and such because I believe in the EV space. I know the EV market is going to go through some macroeconomic difficulties for the next year or so, and it's going to be affecting NIO, right? Whatever happens in China is also going to affect the US. But going forward, I still believe in NIO's potential. I still believe NIO is going to try to prevail, and I still believe that we just have to give it time to see improvements in their margins and such. When we saw the news about Abu Dhabi and these massive firms, these other countries, investing billions into NIO, I think that's just one sign of the potential in it. And I think that I'm not necessarily going to lose faith regardless of what happens. We'll just continue to just watch earnings and see how it goes and take it one day at a time. Now, with that being said, price price ratio is down. NIO has been underperforming. All the data is essentially the same, so nothing's really changing from here. Volume has gone up a bit to about 47 million. And looking at the short volume, this is still kind of flat. So we'll be watching to see how this goes, and we're just going to try to be as patient as possible. This is going to be very, very important. So on the daily time frame, right? If NIO wants to bounce, we want to see this thing get above 7.23. That's our daily 5 EMA. If we break this, if we get above 7.23, look for a push for 7.5. If it breaks that, I could start pushing a little higher. I think that for tomorrow, since tomorrow is going to be the last day before the last full trading day before NIO announces its earnings, which is once again Tuesday morning, right? I think that there's going to be some potential for NIO to try to bounce a bit. Not saying it's going to be a crazy bounce, but I think it could try to make its way back up to 7.4, then reject and just trade kind of flat. But I think we're going to see a slight green day for tomorrow. When it comes to SPY, okay, this thing is pretty wild. This thing pumped very nicely after Jerome Powell gave his speech. It started off very weak, then Powell just pumped the markets, which is pretty insane. And the question now is, will we keep going, right? You could argue we're kind of overbought. But the thing about the way that this thing has been pumping is that there's no sign of us stopping yet because during the after hours on Friday, this thing continued to break out and we almost hit 460. In fact, we're just under 460 right now. So it all depends on 460. What I'm going to say is that on the weekly time frame, this thing has a very, very bullish looking structure. We have a nice cup and handle like formation. On top of that, we're approaching that 460 resistance. If we break 460, we have the potential to push all the way up to 467 over the next 1 to 2 weeks. And there's going to be more upside, even though a lot of people are not like expecting it. A lot of people are thinking the market's going to pull back a bit. If we break 460, we're going to likely push higher. But if we break below 458, I would turn a bit more bearish. And I think that we could see a slight little pullback, but it may not be that extreme. We need a bad catalyst to bring the market down. When you look at SPY, we have this orange trend line that was acting as our pivotal level right over here. This could lead us back down to like a back to like 455 before a bounce. So I see these as being the two most probable possibilities. Don't know if we're just going to break 460 straight and start pushing, or if we get a small rejection first and just try to get another reaccumulation before they push us up back higher. But I don't see us just like crashing and coming down to fill this gap all the way down to 440. I don't see that happening thus far. We need to see a bad catalyst for that to happen. We need something very bad to happen. We need to get like a credit downgrade. We need to, something big. And right now, every time the market is dipped, the buyers just keep coming back. They keep pushing it up higher. And there is no sign of us actually losing this trend line. So if we lose 455, there's going to be more potential for the bears. But first, watch 458 as key support. If we lose that, then I would turn a bit more bearish. If we're bullish, you want to see this thing break 460. I think what's most likely going to happen is this thing either gets a small little pullback and then it just eventually breaks 460 and starts pulling to the upside, but the pullback is going to be very minuscule, very tiny, just a few dollars down before getting bought right back up. And then we'll eventually just start shooting up higher to new all-time highs. Or we might not even get much of a pullback tomorrow. They might just keep pushing it. They might try to just break 460. If we close above it, I'm going to turn bullish, and I think we might just start shooting straight up. Either way, the chart looks very bullish, and it looks like the pullbacks are very minuscule compared to the upside, and there's no sign of SPY breaking down just yet. I'm going to just go over a couple of others very quickly because the main one I went over was NIO. For Tesla, in my opinion, when you look at Tesla, we're still technically uptrending. We held our EMAs very nicely. And when we zoom out of the chart, we're getting a nice accumulation right over here. We have this imbalance up here on the 4-hour time frame at this 245 area. We might see Tesla come down a little bit. They might try to grab some more liquidity, taking it back down to like 236, 237. Then we might bounce and see Tesla just try to start pushing back up to 245. It looks like it may attempt to bounce as we're seeing a nice accumulation right here, nice consolidation. And technically, when you zoom out, Tesla is uptrending. And we have this imbalance up here, these higher levels to be filling, which suggests there's more downside coming. If we get a tech slowdown, you want to see Tesla basically lose 230. If we lose that, then yes, we could turn bearish. As long as we hold above that 232 to 230 range, this thing still has potential to hold up. And thus far, this has been uptrending so far. If you guys look at this, we made higher highs, higher lows. We're still technically uptrending. There's no sign of it breaking down yet. So do not turn bearish until we break down, until it loses that 230 support. Then I'll turn bearish. As of right now, it hasn't done that. It's been uptrending. So the odds favorite kind of like coming down a little bit, them grabbing more liquidity, then pushing it up even higher towards that 245 area very, very soon. That's what the odds favor as time goes on. For Aapl, this thing was looking very weak, but we're seeing buyers defending it as it tried to bounce off the 50 EMA. And we got a bullish cross in the 4-hour MACD. On the weekly, however, I just want to call out that we just got a bullish cross in the weekly on Aapl. It just happened. And when we get these bullish crossovers, typically it actually holds up for another week or two. So looking at Aapl, I could see it come down a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it backtests like 188 to 189 and then bounces. As long as it holds above 188, this thing is going to be bullish overall and eventually start pushing up higher. And the weekly shows it wants to make its way back up towards 195. So it still looks bullish. Could it come down just a little bit and then bounce? Yes, but I still think that the odds favor more upside. The weekly just turned bullish, so it looks like it's just getting ready, and it could continue higher. But to turn bearish, you want to see it lose uh, basically 188. For the QQQ, we're still uptrending. We got a bullish cross on the weekly MACD. It's still looking relatively strong. And when you zoom out of the chart, 400 is a very good target. Now, we have once again, a trend that suggests that as this thing is continuing to uptrend, it's getting tighter with resistance. So the QQQ is looking a little bit weaker than SPY, but we need to see this thing actually break down to turn bearish. So what I would say is watch support at 388. If we lose 388, I anticipate that it's going to start coming back down towards this wick right here towards 386. Watch resistance as well at 390. If we break that, watch 391. If we get above that, we could turn bullish once again. The daily is getting very close to a bearish PPO cross. So there is some risk. There's more risk with the QQQ than SPY because of the chart. So make sure you watch that 388 support. If we lose that, it could pull back just a tiny bit. I don't see this thing like crashing though or dropping insanely hard unless something very bad happens. And there's a good chance it's going to just like pull back a tiny bit and just start, breaking to the upside. Every time this thing is pulled back a tiny bit, we get bought back up. We pulled back a bit, we got bought back up. It came down a bit, came back up, came down a bit, got back up. So it keeps getting bought back up every time it keeps dropping. There's no sign of this thing collapsing yet. So don't assume it's just going to collapse for no reason. Watch support. If we lose support, you're going to be looking at the next level and watch the chart as it develops. We haven't officially gone a bearish cross on the PPO yet on the daily. We're close, but we're not there yet. So be patient. We'll see if we get it, and we'll see how this thing holds up. As of right now, there's no sign of it breaking down, so don't assume it's going to break down. Watch 390, then 391 as resistance. Watch 380 as support. It could pull back a tiny bit and try to bounce, but don't turn way too bearish until we get confirmation. We haven't gotten that yet. Nvidia is looking decent because on the 4-hour time frame, Nvidia has held its 200 EMA. If we lose the 200 EMA at 463, I would turn more bearish, and I think that 459 to 455 is coming. If we hold it, I think this thing is going to rebound and try to fill this imbalance and make its way back up towards that 473 resistance and then eventually 480. What do I think is more likely? Well, right now, it's starting to form a bullish divergence on the 4-hour, and Nvidia is holding up. So we had a bearish divergence initially. This technically played out as Nvidia has dropped almost 40 points, and now it's basing at the 200 EMA. So if we bounce from here, we're going to be looking for a nice rebound if we try to get back above 470. If we fail and we end up losing 463, I would turn more bearish. It looks like this thing might try to bounce, try to push back towards 480. But just to be safe, we'll just have to wait and see. For tomorrow, look for maybe a back test of like 465 to 463, then a bounce, and see if Nvidia could slowly start to get bought up and slowly uptrend. There's a real possibility of that just based off the charts. But I will turn bearish if we lose 463. It's going to start sinking much lower. For now, make sure you watch the chart. The 4-hour is getting very close to a bullish PPO crossover, which suggests that there could be upside coming. We'll just have to wait and see. Watch support and do what you have to do, guys. I think that's it for the video. I'll be talking more about other tickers later on. But for NIO, don't forget, we might see a little rebound because we're approaching earnings and we're actually looking a bit more bullish on the 4-hour time frame. So look for this thing to try to get back above 7.25 and eventually 7.4, and we'll be watching to see if we can get that bounce. With that being said, have a great day, guys. I hope this video was helpful and insightful, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you and peace out.